everybody. I just wanted to try something different this time, so I'm thinking to move the light, but I'm also trying a new lighting technique. I don't know if this is any good, but this is what I'm going to do for this video. But these are all the books that I want to read for 2024 next year, which I think the amount is going to be ginormous. One of my goals for next year in terms of reading is to read thicker books like this, to read bigger. First one that I have for this year that I want to read is The Brothers Karamazov. I think this one is going to be really fun to read. This is Fyodor Dostoevsky, and I'm sure you guys already know what this one's about. This powerful translation of The Brothers Karamazov features an introduction highlighting Dostoevsky's recurrent themes of guilt and salvation with a new chronologically and further reading edition. So that is why I really love my Penguin editions, because I just love the format of the book. I just love how the font size is just perfect, so I am so happy about that. And so yeah, this is a book that I'm really excited to read. But let's carry on to the next book that I want to read for this year, and that is John Polidori, The Vampire. I meant to read this during December, but I just never got around to it, unfortunately. So I'm gonna give it another whoop of a try and see, because as you know, this book haul that I'm showing you is all the books that I want to read for this year. So it's not really specifically each month. I'm just going to pick up which one depending on my mood. John Polidori's classic tale of the vampire was a product of the same ghost story competition that produced Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Written in reaction to the dominating presence of his employer, Lord Byron, the story introduced the vampire into English fiction, launching a vampire craze that has never been diminished. I really love these Oxford Words editions because the font is also incredible. It's just like a perfect size, and it really helps me because I have dyslexia. I can't always read every word that I'm looking at. Sometimes I will look at a word, I'm sure everybody does this, but sometimes when I look at a word, it shows up something completely different to my eyes. So yeah, it's just like always been a struggle of mine. But yeah, I'm super excited to read this one. This is like giving Phantom of the Opera vibes, like, which I'm all about because I saw Phantom of the Opera twice this year on Broadway, and I am mesmerized by it. Next book that I want to read this year is Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan. She's an Irish author, and I love Irish authors. I think they're amazing. There's also another book that I want to read this year that I never got around to is James Joyce Dubliners. I really want to read this one as well. I just think books about Ireland or books written by Irish authors is like, they're so fascinating, and they really hone that concept of simplicity and integrate that into their books, and I love that aspect. And just to show, I love this edition. I just had to show you. I think I'm gonna do a reread of The Picture of Dorian Gray, but I just wanted to show you this cute little edition that I found in a charity shop. It's so cute. I just love these Wordsworth classic editions. I think they are adorable. Alright, so the next book that I'm going to read this year is Elena Ferrante, The Lion Life of Adult. I have shown this book, I feel like, in so many videos that I said I was going to read it and I never got around to it. So this year I'm really going to take my hands and grab it and read this thing, and I don't want to lie to myself about it. The next book that I'm excited to read is Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice. This cover is so beautiful. Like, I meant to read this book during October, but I got really busy with work and life in general and prepping for a Disney trip that I never got around to this. But I think this one is beautiful. Just look at that cover. In a darkened room, the boy sits, waiting for the story to begin. His companion is a young man, cloaked in shadow, his voice low and soft, only the pure white of his collar visible in the gloom. The story of this man's life is about to be told, a story of a vampire facing the dark stretch of eternity, cursed with an exquisite craving for human blood. Next one that I was reading back in September that I didn't finish. I didn't DNF it. I want to get back to it, but this is going to be my round to getting back to it. It is Who is Dracula's Father? I found this in such a whim, like out of nowhere. I wasn't looking for this book at all. I just found it one day when I was at Waterstones. Like, I have so many questions about Drac, and I also love the bookmark that I put in here. Next is The Great Grand Dante Comedies. I want to read this whole thing so bad, but I keep forgetting. I keep running around in circles reading other books and never actually finish it. I'm still in the book Inferno, book 1, but I want to finish all 3 of them the next year, so I'm sure you guys already know what this book's about, so I don't need to go through the synopsis. Next book that I want to read that is extremely dusty, do you see? The next book that I want to read this year is Homer the Iliad. This is another great edition. This is Penguin edition. I absolutely love these books. I'm sure you guys already know what this one's about, so I'm not going to go through the synopsis, but I cannot wait to read this one. Next book that I want to do a reread is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I read this book in 21. Look how much I tabbed it. Like, look at that. That is insane. Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. This one I've been wanting to read for the last 2 years and still never got around to it. So I want to get my hands on all the Jane Austen books. I have quite a lot of them, but my lifetime goal, not really particularly for next year, I want to read every single book from Jane Austen at some point. And then this is another Jane Austen one that I want to read. It's Jane Austen Sense and Sensibility. I absolutely love this color. Next book that I really want to read is John Keats Selected Poems. And another poetry book that I want to read as well is Rumi Selected Poems. I got this one secondhand. Next book that I want to read is Evelyn Waugh's Brideheads Revisited. Many of the best English novels are portraits of families. In Brideshead Revisited, Evelyn Waugh narrates versions of the accomplished but eccentric family of Lord Marchman in a social paranormal that ranges from Oxford to Venice. His dissection of the moral infirmities of society is as sharp and candid as it was in Decline and Fall or Vile Bodies, but in Brideshead Revisited, the longest and most ambitious of his novels, he also reveals a deep connection and sympathy for the dilemma of the individual. I think it's super cool, and this edition is from 1955. Isn't that crazy? And it's beautiful. The next book that I want to read is also by Evelyn Waugh. It is A Handful of Dust. Back in the day, in the 50s, like this one, they didn't have the synopsis in the back. They just had a little biography of the author, and then the synopsis was actually on the inside. After 7 years of marriage, Lady Brenda Lass was mildly bored with country life in the Victorian Gothic mansion that was a symbol of her husband's family pride. The affair she drifted into with a wholly worthless young man began as a diversion fashionably in her class and her generation, becoming a vortex of ironic calamities. Evelyn Waugh is too subtle a moralist, however, to point a moral, and leaves his readers to take what side they will in the story of a broken marriage. He is, moreover, too sophisticated a chronicler to ignore the comic and ridiculous in human misfortune, and a handful of dust is well flavored with his humor. Next book I want to read is, like I said, I want to read more of Jane Austen. This is Northanger Abbey. Next book I want to read for next year is As You Like It by William Shakespeare. When Rosaline is banished by her uncle, who has usurped her father's throne, she flees to the forest of Arden, where her exiled father holds court. There, dressed as a boy to avoid discovery, she encounters the man she loves, now a fellow exile, and resolves to remain in disguise to test his feelings for her. A gloriously stunning comedy, As You Like It, is an exuberant combination of concealed identities and verbal jousting, reconciliations, and multiple weddings. There was also a play in London about this one, but I didn't go see it, but super excited to read this one, because I also want to read every single book in Shakespeare. Everything, I need to read it. The next one I want to read is Troilus and Cressida. I think that's how you say it. The classic theme of portrayal is the basis for Troilus and Cressida, a subtle play in which sexual and political treachery coexist. Set against the background of the Trojan War, the protagonists act out their personal tragedy as a greater tragedy of the fall of Troy unfolds. Ooh, that is so cool. This is giving me like Greek mythology. What's that book? The Song of Achilles. Like, this is giving me Song of Achilles vibes, which I'm super excited to read. The next book I want to read is John Fowles, The Collector. Frederick Clegg is a lonely man who collects butterflies, catches them, breeds them, and pens them in display cases. Pores over their beauty in private. It is his only interest until he wins £73,000. Then he captures a more exciting specimen to add to his collection. A beautiful young woman. Next book I want to read, also from Shakespeare, is Hamlet. Next book I want to read that I've heard so many good things about is Letters to a Young Poet, and it was only £2 from the store. Next book that I wanted to read is Good Morning Midnight by Jean Rice. I have to read this one. I am obsessed with Paris. I absolutely love the aesthetic of Paris. It's beautiful. Next book that I want to read for this year is The Plague by Camus. Another book that I want to read that adapted to one of my most favorite films of all times is Mary Poppins. This is such a lovely old edition. I love the picture. This is from 1960s, and it says it is not for sale in the US. So if I didn't pick this up here in London, I would never have known this existed. But it's by P.L. Travers, and it's so cool because I didn't even know like Mary Poppins was a book. Another book that I want to read this year is once again by Evelyn Waugh, Decline and Fall. This is from August 1954. That is insane. Somebody even wrote the date on the side. The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. Oh my god, I read this one last year. This is probably going to be another reread for me, but The Mysteries of Thorn Manor by Margaret Rogerson. I don't read a lot of fantasy, but really love this one. This one was amazing and just perfect for the winter season. I was halfway through Salt Slow, but I didn't finish it, but also got this signed by her, and I got a little advice from signature. And this is not a new I'm not gonna read this one probably, but I might when October comes around. But this is a beautiful edition of Dracula that I got. I love this one specifically because it's one of my favorite Hollywood or former old, like the old Hollywood star, Bela Lugosi. I love Bela. I saw Bela's gravestone in Los Angeles this year, which was amazing. Juliet and Romeo by David Hewson. I love retellings of Shakespeare's tragedy. Carmilla, I love Carmilla. I might give this one a reread. Okay, I have a ton more books that I want to show you, but I feel like this video is going to get way out of hand, way too long. So I hope you enjoyed all these books that I showed you. I don't know how many I showed you, but I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. À bientôt. Au revoir. I love you so much.